Greetings and salutations, Geo Nerds. We're up the creek again, Kedron Brook, the upper brook this time, nearly done. We're going to start here and go through all this suburban urbia, through golf courses and things. Then we're going to go to the Brooks, a beautiful little babbling stream yet again. We're going to walk some of the historic old railway lines up here, the old Sanford Valley Railway line, and we're going to end up right at the source of Kedron Brook, right where it starts as a little trickle. So hang on, it's going to be fun. So you know what I'm going to say.
Let's rock.
Hey Gianna, it's just a quick thank you to all the new subscribers. The YouTube algorithm takes no prisoners, and this is a fairly narrow content channel, so it's never going to get on the algorithm. So if you know any friends who think might like this material, please flick them my way. Anyway, as was once said, overture, curtains, lights, this is it, you'll hit the heights. I know what heights you'll hit. On with the show, this is it. Also, as I learn more about the colonial history of Brisbane, I feel I really need to say this. I begin today by acknowledging the Turrbal people, traditional custodians of the land in which we live today, and I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and acknowledge that they got royally dicked by my ancestors. I take no pride in the knowledge of what was done to these people and recognise their pain. My ancestors came from Northern Ireland, a land not too unfamiliar with land theft, murder and genocide. It just seems a shame we seem to want to do it all again here. Well folks, we're starting today's sojourn above the Arana Hill Shopping Centre, over the golf club here, the Ferny Grove Golf Club I suppose. They'll look the same to me. There's the Ferny Grove Railway Station. We're following Sanford Road. We're actually following Lanita Court and the creek. You can see the creek winding between those two roads there. And Lanita Court, of course, is the old Sanford Valley Railway line. And we'll see some historic photographs of that soon. It's pretty cool. We turn here because this is the creek, the Kedron Brook, and we come up here and there's the source, and you'll see that as well in the Walkabout. We're just going to pan up here because you don't realise how close we are. There's the inaugural reservoir there. We pan around here. There's Mount Nebo Road. There's Camp Mountain and the Camp Mountain Granodiorite Quarry and Sanford in the background there. And we spin around, and I'm just going to show you something most people don't know. This is actually the start of Cabbage Tree Creek. This is the source right there, and the valley runs away to the right there. So at one stage, these things are only 500 metres apart. It's crazy. You know, let's have a look at the geology up here. Well folks, here we have a geological map of the whole district. And the area we were talking about today are basically on the right hand side there, but we got to talk about the macro features. So if you look at that big orange section in the bottom section there, that's the inaugural granites. Now they're about 250 million years old. And you see that obviously big pink blob up there, that's the Sanford granites, and it also by default includes the Camp Mountain granodiorites. That's also 250 million years old. So this area has been well and truly cooked, and this map is just the surface geology, so those things have three-dimensional structures underneath the ground, and these shales, which are 400 million years old, have been well and truly cooked. Now this area contains the Upper Kedron Goldfield, and those goldfields exist along the edge of those igneous rock types there, where the shales were heated and groundwater got in and brought up minerals, and you'll see it all along there. They follow it rather well. We haven't talked about Cedar Creek. It's a major tributary of Kedron Brook. We'll do another video on it because the Cedar, first of all, it's a very big creek, and it has a lot of geology and a lot of gold mining history on it. So we'll cover that then. So what we'll do now is we'll have a quick look at what's called the Kenmore Fault. Now, it's an interesting fault insofar as it's not really a fault. It's the boundary between the Brisbane Phyllite and the western extent of the Narrowleaf Fernvale beds. They're very similar rock types. You can see the difference. It was originally described as a fault. I'll just draw it on for you. You can see it in the map, but I'll highlight it for you. So that is referred to as the Kenmore Fault, but it doesn't exist. Really, it's been drilled, people have looked at it, no one can find an actual fault. It's just a boundary between the two different types of rocks. There are faults all through here. You can see them marked on this map. There are little red fault lines and there are black faults. And if you look in the top corner of the screen there, that's the North Pine Fault. But that actually does exist. The Kenmore Fault, there's a great deal of debate. It just doesn't exist. There's no seismological evidence for it. They can't see it on any surveys. But it does exist on the ground as far as the rock types change. But it's not a fault. Let's have a look at a high resolution image of this area so we can see a little bit more what we're talking about. So as you can see here, folks, it's dominated by shales. It's dominated by Brisbane Phyllite actually. You've got the Enoggera granite down in the bottom there, hugging pretty much Cedar Creek. The yellow is the gravels that have been deposited by the river. The big one through the middle is Kedron Brook's gravel, and the yellow one heading off to the bottom left is Cedar Creek's gravels. So yeah, that's it. There's a little pluton of granite sitting all by itself out there. I should track that down one day. It looks interesting. Let's have a look at the LiDAR. Well, here we have our favourite map, the LiDAR. You can see the Kedron Brook running right through the middle at the top, and you can see Cedar Creek running away to the bottom and to the left. But in the middle you can see that quarry. Now that's at Ferny Grove, and they're clever buggers, Hansons. That quarry is on the boundary between the Enoggera granite and the Brisbane Phyllite, and the quarry is actually dug into a metamorphic contact zone. So what they're mining there is cooked Brisbane Phyllite or schist, and this stuff is fantastic. So the left-hand side of that quarry is in schist, the right-hand side is on granite. They can mine two different rocks in the one quarry. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Let's have a look at a slightly higher resolution LiDAR. So we've got a bit more resolution here. We're just going to zoom right. You can see the railway line, or the old railway line, winding its way through there. I love the way they contoured that. It's beautiful to walk on, by the way. You must walk it. It's a lot of fun. Just zooming in there on the actual source of Kedron Brook. As we get a bit closer, I'll stick a ring around it for you. There it is. That's the earliest bit I can find. You could probably argue if there was a tributary slightly longer, but I don't think there is. I think we need to have a look a bit at the history of the area, because this place reeks of history. It's fantastic. Well, the first settlers came to this area in the 1860s, just after Queensland separated from New South Wales. And it was timber. They were after timber, cedar lock. This one was actually from North Queensland, but same sort of thing. Bullock teams pulling the timber in and out of the hilly country, which is where the good timber grew. And yeah, timber. Then, of course, once you've got some space, you can start to raise some cattle. But not long after that, in 1866, the first gold find was reported. Yeah, that was the first one reported. Miners aren't good at paperwork, so who knows? So these guys lived up here, and this is rough country. I mean, you go up there now, it's hard enough. Back in those days, there was nothing. So slab huts, flour, damper, you know, that's about it. Maybe a bit of whiskey if you could afford it, but there wasn't much to go. Then it started to gentrify up a bit. We started getting proper farms, families started moving in, wealth started accumulating, and it became, and still is, a very, very nice place to live. So if you look at some of these photos here, these are from the late 1800s, early 1900s. It was just a beautiful piece of countryside. Like everywhere they went, they just tried to turn it into countryside England. And there were some nice farms up there, good size selections, and they grew lots and lots of produce. Chinese market gardens up there growing fruit and vegetables for Brisbane. The creek was still, Kedron Brook looked absolutely stunning as usual, hadn't been destroyed. And it was just a beautiful place to be. The upper Kedron Brook is very nice indeed. So yeah, this is an interesting image. I noticed every one of these trees is ring-barked. So see all the stumps in the paddock, they're not animals, they're stumps. They've cut that hill bare and ring-barked every single tree. Pretty annoying. Here's the railway line heading across. This is further up actually, this is up at Yuga. In the news lately for all the wrong reasons. But yeah, this is what they turned it into. This was thickly wooded. And here's a train arriving at Sanford. We can pretend it was Ferny Grove, but it was at Sanford. And it did that in 1918, so a long time back. Of course, can't give humans nice things. They crashed a train and Queensland's worst rail disaster happened in 1947 over at Camp Mountain. And there were 16 people killed, including the fireman and the operator, and 38 people were injured. Not long after that, they closed the line. Anyway, here's the line running through Ferny Grove. I've made a composite up for you. You can still see the line was operational here, and I actually zoomed down onto the bridge at the end of Lanita Street, or Lanita Road I think it is on this side, and you can still see the trestle bridge there, which is pretty cool. Now let's hit the walkabout. This video is going to get too long, so time for walkabout. Well folks, here we are, we're a little further up the track. We've just crossed Dawson Parade at Grovely, or Arana Hills, and we're back along the side of the creek. There's Coles over there. This is the Woolworths out the back where they regulate the heat. Anyway, the creek's still looking fantastic, quite a lot of flood debris in it. We're walking along here. Oh, the crows are back, awesome, love them. So we'll come back and we've got something interesting for you. We're just about to hook through the Arana Country Club Golf Club. That'll be fun. See you then. Well folks, down there is Kedron Brook. Through the trees on the other side you can see the other bank. And as you can probably guess, this bank is a good 20 metres higher than that bank. And the reason is, that bank is shale, this bank is granite. And the creek has followed the edge, the line between the two. As you can see, this one don't erode as quick as the other one does, even though that is 200 million years older than this. The granite we're standing on is late Triassic. It's 220 million years old, but that shale over there is good old Brisbane phyllite, 400 to 500 million years old. But even so, this stuff's a lot harder. Well folks, here we are on the Arana Country Club, and here's Kedron Brook winding its way through the club, probably eating wayward golf balls for lunch, and looking really nice actually. Oh folks, beautiful Kedron Brook towards the top end of the golf club here at Arana Hills. A beautiful little babbling brook. It is. Beautiful subtropical rainforest, somewhat reminiscent of Onaga Creek, but yeah, it's not the same creek, you can see that. Different geology, you see. Anyway, I'm trying to find you a piece of exposed granite here, but it's all covered in garbage. I'm talking concrete, bits of railway iron, roofing iron, you name it. This is being well and truly messed with. Let's see what we can see further up. Well folks, Kedron Brook again, just to the west of the Arana Golf Club. And here's Kedron Brook heading up there. Beautiful little babbling brook it is. Sorry about that, it's the trains crossing the level crossing. Bit of sun in the shot there. And that creek is Cedar Creek. Now, there's a lot of Cedar Creeks in South East Queensland, but this is the one that drains the upper Kedron goldfields. And it's a cool little creek, and we'll do a video on that one day. But for today, this is the direction we're going, Kedron Brook. This is the Cedar Creek Bridge at, I suppose we're at Ferny Grove. And as you can see, they really did expect some flow. This thing is 9 culverts wide. Oh folks, we're out here at Ferny Grove. Traffic noise, traffic noise. I've been here for a while. Look at the size of this car park they're building here. Multi-storey car park. So that people can drive in from their acreages and catch the train into town. Pretty cheaper just to extend the train line. They're going to do it one day anyway, it's just about time. Crazy. Well folks, here's the old brook about to cross Sanford Road. Doesn't even get a bridge, they just give it a few pipes. Anyone who lives out there will tell you, not enough pipes either. And look at that iron bacteria in the river, it's terrible. Anyway, we'll see what it's like on the other side. Here we are folks, we're standing in the creek bed of Kedron Brook in a place called Cobble Park. There's a little ford here across it, and there's the usual amount of water in it for an Australian creek at its headwaters. That would be none, dry. There will be water flowing, but it'll be under the bed, it'll be in the gravel. Anyway, we'll keep pushing up. We'll get a bit of a better look at this further up. Folks, here we are on Lanita Road at Ferny Grove. You may notice this road is very straight and it's also very flat, and there's a reason for that. This is the track bed of the Debra railway line from the 1920s. And although this video is going to be unbelievably long already, it would be remiss not to give you a summary of the story of this railway line, and I'll insert one in here. So there you go. You've now heard the story of this railway line tragedy and a bit of bad luck. The old bunchy top coming back and destroying it and everything. So, but I'll tell you what, it's nice to walk on. It's really flat and it does not go uphill or downhill. So we're going to have a look at a new bridge they built down here just recently. I haven't seen it since they finished it, so let's have a good look. And I'll show you some places where people, not me of course, because that would be illegal, people have come up here and creviced and for gold and found an amount, a very small amount. There is nowhere in Brisbane where you're going to find large amounts of gold, but you know, maybe in a jewellery store. But up here, like all these places, It's been 100 years since anyone seriously looked for gold, so the creeks have recharged to some degree, but this was never nugget country. Well, it probably was back in the mid-1800s, but lately here it's just little fine specks. But that's speaking hypothetically, of course, because to pan for gold in a Brisbane creek or any creek in Queensland that you don't have a right to do is in a prospecting area and you don't have a licence is illegal. So I would never do that. But I have heard that people do. Anyway, let's keep going. Here we are, folks, on the Lenita Street, towards the absolute top end of the range of the watershed of Kedron Brook. And she's really starting to narrow down to be a little trickle now. This is the new bridge they built, I was telling you about. It's absolutely fantastic. I don't know what it cost, it must have been a lot. Look at all this riffraff here. All good old Capera goolies, Capera granite. Just a fantastic bridge. Nestles into the landscape. It's useful, it's wide enough to be useful. High enough off the creek, so you know, it floods every now and then. Here's our creek bed. Shale, exposed shale bedrock underneath us here. And there it is. Still Kedron Brook. Lots of exposed shale in the bottom of the river down there. Let's have a look on the other side for you. Let me get run over by someone. Here we go. Let's come around. Here's the other side. Again, another shale reef there exposed and being cut into. Massive big pieces of shale here. You see a lot of this further up. I've been in this. That bedding plane is nearly flat. Yet over there, it's cranked. So she's been all folded at one stage, more of it upstream there. I've walked the bed of this creek a long way and it's just shale everywhere. There is a lot of quartz down there. That bridge is moving, one person jogging, isn't that amazing? A lot of quartz down there because this shale is full of quartz. But it doesn't contain gold here. The reason we're getting gold here is further upstream is a contact zone between the Enoggera volcanics, the Sanford volcanics, and this shale. So on those contact zones, gold precipitated out and that's eroded down the creeks and we find it here. But they're little pieces. There are reports in the Courier from the Moreton Courier, from Moreton Bay Courier I think it was called then, from the 1850s, of them finding 2-ounce nuggets in Fish Creek. And it's just on the other side of the hill here. Nothing over here of course, but yeah, 2-ounce nuggets, a pretty big nugget. You won't find that in Brisbane nowadays. Anyway, we're nearly done for today. I want to come back and finish this because it's getting dark. Anyway, we'll keep going a little bit further. Well folks, this is where Lenita Court, or Lenita Street finishes and joins on to the new Sanford cycle track, which is just on the other side of the valley there, which is beautiful and flat, and we'll walk on that for a little bit, but I don't think the train went down here. I'd say there was a reasonable looking trestle bridge here at one stage, which has been lost. So anyway, we'll walk across the other side and have a look at some cuttings and some coal. I know folks, I said I'd show you any interesting rocks, but really I haven't found any. This is just a great big pile of mafic, shale and argillite. There's no quartz veining in it. It's not cooked, you can break it up with your fingers. Pretty typical of the Brisbane phyllite in the upper sections, which is what this is. Big lumps of it. Anyway, a bit further to go. Well, here's Kedron Brook, folks. Wow. Kedron drain, really. Here it is, heading off up to its source, and we will go to its source. Unfortunately, we can't follow it up that valley because that's private property. And, you know, but we will find the other end. I know where it is. We'll get there and we'll get you some footage of that. We're just going to walk up this railway track for a while because it looks like a bit of fun. Our geology changes, folks. We've only come about 50 metres from when I showed you that very uninteresting piece of mafic shale, and this stuff is this is pretty much the same rock. It's at a completely different bedding angle, and it is completely loaded with quartz. It's everywhere in it. Not particularly mineralised, but yeah, it's a good sign. They used to quarry this stuff purely to get the quartz out of it and use it for aggregate, because the shale itself is useless, but they could easily break the quartz out of it if there was lots of it and use it for aggregate. It's amazing.
Much later.
Kedron Brook, folks, coming up the hill to its source. And its source is right there. It's not spring fed, there isn't a spring there, but it's wet at the moment and there has been rain recently, so it's probably a intermittent spring or a soak or something. So there it is, folks, a stream, a piddle, turns into a creek, a brook, a burn, a couple of kookaburras down there, probably won't see them in the video. And just at the bottom of the valley here, there's a farm dam. And this just goes on, ends up over at Lanita Court, which we saw before. And there's the source of Kedron Brook. Hey Geo Nerds, that's your lot for this time. Kedron Brook is done. What an amazing creek. It's such a pleasure to walk it. I've walked it now from its source to the sea. Downfall Creek coming up, also an amazing creek. Cabbage Tree Creek to come, only because I want to. They're just great. They're really interesting creeks. They've got lots of history and lots of geology and some interesting stuff. I'm going to do a video just on the Enoggera goldfields because I know I didn't put much of it in this video because this video is already too long. My videos are going to get shorter, between 10 and 20 minutes, no longer. I will trim the subject matter till it fits the size because they're too long, they're hard to make, they're even harder to listen to. I get your message. So yeah, that's going to shorten up, and got some gold mines we're going into very soon with some proper lighting. I'm sick of all this bodgy lighting you get when the guys online, no matter how well-meaning they are. I want to look at the rocks, you can't see them. It's stupid LED lights that don't light things up properly, and cameras that are moving too quickly in low light and break up. So I'm going to take my big camera down, we'll do some proper geologizing. So lots of fun coming up. Probably not going to do too much outdoor stuff in summer. Oh, it's going to be a hot summer this year, so I've got quite a bit of footage in the can. I've got some sunsets coming up. They're nice to do. I might do one. Yeah, probably do one this week. It stops raining for 5 minutes. Anyway, that's your lot. I'll see you. Thank you all new subscribers. It's been fantastic. Thank you for your feedback in the comments. The emails I'm getting, quite a few emails. I get more emails than I do comments. I'm not sure why, but anyway, I don't care. Doing those little shorts, the historic trees and stuff like that, that's just fun. Anyway, apparently I heard that Karl Marx hated Earl Grey tea because apparently proper tea is theft.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, and hey, you made it this far, please help us to poke the algorithm and smash that like button like it's Space 1999. And if you want to see more, subscribe and share this with, say, 1,000 of your closest friends. And let's see just how far that little algorithm can go before its CPU explodes. Copy you later.